Well, hey everybody, I want to talk to you about a very, I think a very important compositional rule that I abide by almost every time I'm out taking a photo of a landscape. It's not something I hear talked about, but over 20 years, between my photography, between critiquing thousands of photos, looking at tens of thousands of photos, looking at photos that win competitions, looking at photos of other landscape photographers I admire, I can tell you that this rule is very, very rarely broken. We'll talk about some reasons to break it in just a second. I am going to take you out in the field because I want to show you how this ties into a little bit of live shooting out in the field. But let's tee it up first. And the rule is, when you're taking a landscape photo, assuming there's sky in there, you should be devoting 2/3 of that photo to the foreground, 1/3 to the sky. Now, could be 80-20, could be 60-40, could be 70-30, somewhere in there. What I'm getting at is the majority of that photo should be devoted to the foreground and not the sky, not the other way around, because the sky is very, very rarely enough to carry a wonderful photo. Not that skies can't be beautiful, but there's another reason for that photo, and a strong photo is never going to just be the sky. Now, exceptions, night, northern lights, aurora, Milky Way, stars, storm chasers, stormy weather. Of course, there's exceptions to it. But by and large, for most of your landscape photos, even if the sky is gorgeous, it should still be in that 1/3 area of your photo. And there's a reason for this. When you're out there, I'd like you to consider, when you go to a location, there's a reason why you went to that location. What is the why of the location you're at? And I can tell you, it's never going to be the sky. Okay, there's always something else. And if it is the sky, if it is that dominates the photo, it's not going to resonate as much with you. It's not going to resonate as much with other people, because the sky is more of a supporting element to the photo. And that why of why you're there is so much more important in developing, I think, a strong landscape photo. So what happens is you end up not being as happy with it, and then it doesn't resonate as much with other people as a deeper type of a connection with a landscape or a sense of place to where you are. So let's go ahead, let's jump out into the field here, and I'll show you a little bit more, and a little bit more about how I make this happen and what I'm thinking. All right, so I am set up here. I've got my 24-70 or 24-105 on, I should say. F16, ISO 100, I'm on a tripod, I don't care what the shutter speed is. I'm not really gonna worry about long exposure here. That's not really the point of what we're talking about here. That can definitely be an option for the water here. But what we do wanna talk about, let me move the camera here, and I'm gonna go dead center, okay? I am now dead center in the frame. And I'm telling you, as I sit here and I look at 24 millimeters, and I look at what I'm seeing in the frame, and then I sit here and then I look outward, those clouds at the very top of the frame are about what I see. As I mentioned before, I can go like this and I can see more, but that's not what I see. All right, it's not part of my vision here. And I think that's why a lot of times when people shoot really wide, they get back and they look at their photos. It's fun to shoot wide. The world just looks crazy through a super wide angle lens, but when you do it and you get back and look at your photos, I think we're missing something. I think people see a lot of dead space up there. And even if it's not dead space, you have minimized your subject so much by only including 1/3 of it at the bottom. But let's just take a look. So now I can go and I can move this higher. Again, I'm not saying the clouds aren't pretty up there, but there becomes a lot of dead space now, okay? And as I go down, what I'm gonna suggest is something along these lines right here. Something in this area, 2/3, 1/3, 75-25, 80-20, something along those lines. What I would suggest is not going and doing what I just did here, all right? Don't just include a tiny little sliver of sky up there, but something in that 2/3, 1/3 range where I'm lower to the ground, all right? And you will see this, you'll see all of your favorite landscape photographers. They're gonna be out and about shooting. They're gonna have a wide angle lens on, and they're gonna be close to a foreground element, and they're gonna have the camera aimed down. And that's exactly what I have here. The camera is pointing downward at our foreground, which is how I'm able to get that 2/3, 1/3 ratio inside of here, okay? So as you do it, and by all means, guys, experiment with both. Feel free to tilt the camera up like I just did here. It's pretty, it's just, we lost the rocks, we lost the water. Could we change a little bit of our angle and where we are? We could, but again, beautiful sky, that's great.
but I can still include a lot of beautiful sky and maybe just angle slightly upward, maybe put a wider lens on to catch a little bit more. But overall, I think if you can keep that ratio, that 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky ratio, if you can keep that ratio, I think you're going to be a lot happier with your photography. I think it's going to resonate more. It keeps you concentrating on the place. And that's the most important part of where you are, is whatever location you chose, you want to showcase that. The sky is a helping element. It can add to it if it's beautiful, and I have a beautiful sky right here, so it will add to this. But the sky is a contributing element to that. But just remember, where you are is really the most important. So whether it's a beach like this, or whether it's a mountain, a lake, and trees, I would say the exceptions would maybe be Aurora, Milky Way. Yeah, I could see some exceptions there, but I think for the most part, that 2/3 sky, or 2/3 foreground, 1/3 sky roll, I think you're gonna be a lot happier, and it gives you something to really focus on and really concentrate on, and I think you can actually hone in on your photos a lot faster when you go that way.